studying for the LSAT. You have to get your grades ready in order to build an application package, send it to the various schools you want to go to. I did that, and I went to law school, 3 years in law school. After 3 years, you have, a year, 10 months of experiential training. And then after that, you get called to the bar, and then you become licensed to practice law. So until you become licensed to practice law, you are not allowed to, provide anything else. It's just been 3 years and not really that. So that's my journey.
Mashallah, Jazakumullahu Khairan for all of you guys' inputs. That was really valuable and we got to learn a lot and get your perspective and everything. Inshallah, our second question would be, this is, I feel like a lot of that should be over this interpersonal content as well. How can we keep our faith and Islamic principles at the forefront throughout our educational journeys and even extending into their personal careers? That's
a great question. In high school, one of the unintentional things that happened to me that was greatly beneficial was that I got interested in philosophy. I got interested in philosophy before I knew anything much about Islam. Like I mentioned earlier, prayers to the extent that I could, fasting to the extent that I could, but beyond that, very limited knowledge. But taking philosophy in high school, it inspired or invoked certain questions in my life that I wanted to explore further. Our professor or our teacher, philosophy teacher, tasked us in one of my philosophy classes with this program or this assignment where you will choose a philosopher or an ideology and you come to the round table and debate. I was thinking, well, what should I choose? Well, I'm Muslim. Let's learn what Islam is all about. Let's see if I can hold my own. And that process kind of started the journey of me going into becoming a student of knowledge as far as our Islamic tradition is concerned. So I don't know if a lot of people have that experience where, some people call it like a midlife crisis. Something happens, you pause and then you ask, okay, who am I? That happened to me in high school, so I'm really grateful for that. So I have been thinking about my identity as a Muslim since high school up until now. And it's just been growing. How can I represent or be myself as a Muslim in everything that I'm doing in my career? So one of the hardest decisions for me when I was in law school was, what area of law should I practice that would best align with my Islamic values? Corporate law was quickly crossed off, right? For those who don't know, corporate law, it's a great profession, but let's just say that there are a lot of ethical dilemmas there that you have to deal with. I didn't want to deal with that. So, in almost all professions, but certainly in law as well, there is opportunity to let your values as a Muslim show in your work. Thinking about the bigger picture, the benefit of the work that you do, and the way you do it. So, as a lawyer, it's challenging because sometimes you're supposed to take a position, certainly in the criminal defense world or crown world, where you are faced with somebody who is charged with a crime, and you're tasked with applying the law with which you don't really agree with, because the law doesn't apply to your Islamic values. So it's challenging, but there are ways to do it. There are ways to do that. So my view is that one of the beautiful things about Islam is that we can do anything in this world from, while you're true to your tradition, to your religion, to your values.
So when you're thinking about, what does it mean to be a Muslim, and how does Islam with the rest of my life? The thing about the identity of being Muslim is that it's not something that can just be left at home. You will have to bring it out into the public. I mean, even if it's just something that's kept in a break, there's identified factors. You're taking a break before, so on, different things. They're not something that you can be able to keep away just at your home. So embrace the difference. We're in a pretty fortunate situation now where there's still a thing of time for sure. It is shifting to allow for more opportunities to be able to show their differences. And our differences are beautiful. And don't be afraid that just because you're different that you should show it, because this is a big time. When you go out into the world, be proud of your Islamic identity, understand the academic confidence, right? Understand the academia behind Islam and your history and as a Muslim. We have so many opportunities here. We should be really honing in on those opportunities, really mastering our skills and being the best versions that we can be, and excelling in our fields, so that we can give back to others, so that they can go into the areas and rooms that we weren't able to go into. So that's sort of
So, I mean, as with everything in life, you're really supposed to look at things with an Islamic perspective. So, you need to have your Islamic classes on before you approach any kind of issue or any kind of field, and mental health care is, of course, the same thing. So, how that looks like in terms of how I place Islam at the forefront of our mind, especially in the field that I'm in. I was honestly, a big part of why I was inspired to go into psychiatry was looking at some of Dr. Daniyal Kashif's work. So she's the founder of the Islamic Symposium of Professionals, amongst other things. But, she spoke about a lot of things that, when you look back at it, mental health care was always there. Mental health care was always there in the Muslim community, right? Like when you look at the story of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you read about Ameen, it was called Ameen for a reason. The Prophet lost his uncle and Khadija, Rahmatullahi. And you look at some of the dua that we make every day in your adhkar, why would the Prophet be making dua against hamd, which is like preoccupation, you might say anxiety, and hazan, or sadness, or depression, you might say. Now, why would the Prophet make these dua? You think a little bit like, okay, mental care was always there, or the idea of mental illness was always there. And then, a couple of centuries later, Representative is describing OCD, he's describing phobias, he's describing things that weren't really described in the Western world up until like maybe 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago, right? So Islam was always at the forefront of these things, and we want to continue doing that. And one of the problems with the Western paradigm is you have mental health and you have physical health, and you intersect between the two. Of course, we agree with that. But a huge missing component is the role of nafs, or spiritual health, which obviously, again, will intersect with the other two. Whereas they see it as a Venn diagram, we have two components, we see that there's a third component that's just completely absent. And unfortunately, within our own community, that also poses a problem, because sometimes we don't see the mental health. We see the physical health and the spiritual health, and the mental health component isn't there. So having Muslims in the field of mental health care is quite important, because then you're able to see all the components. You understand how they intersect. You understand how, depression may have a component that is mental and may have a component that is spiritual. But you need to address both in order to actually properly address it. And it was kind of toxic in many instances where in my work I have dealt with situations where I recognize it's important for me to be here. It's important for Muslims to be here. And I'll share two very quick stories. One of them was there was a young girl who has OCD scrupulosity. So OCD are obsessive compulsive disorders. Generally, you have obsessions that are really intrusive thoughts and go into the cycle of having to obsess about them, and compulsions, which are to do things to relieve that obsession. And scrupulosity means it's religious for me. So she had these intrusive thoughts of, stuff from Allah is not real, or Allah is not, it's evil, things like that. Really intrusive thoughts that were just distressing her. She was Muslim, she didn't believe these things. She did well on medications for a while, and her parents were like, "You're doing great, you can stop your medications." And unfortunately, that led to her presenting to our emergency department. And while I was presenting this case to my supervisor, one of the medical students who was sitting there kind of smirked and made this snide comment around, this is actually just normal distress from the ultimate realization that God doesn't exist. Like, she's atheist, clearly, and her sense is that, well, she's just distressed because she's finding out that God isn't real. Thankfully, my supervisor was a mental health professional, supervisor was obviously a psychiatrist, and was able to step in and comment on that. And another situation I wasn't directly involved in, but there was a Muslim brother came to Candidate with psychosis, he has schizophrenia, and he was deemed incapable of consent to treatment. So he crosses a certain threshold where you're unable to even realize what's happening around you, and somebody has to make the treatment decisions for you. You can't, advocate for yourself. So normally, so his mom was made the substitute decision maker, but then she said no to treatment. She said, well, no, he doesn't need medications, he doesn't have a mental health condition, he's just possessed by a jinn, so he's ruqya, and that's what he needs, he doesn't need antipsychotic medication. Staff psychiatrist was like, okay, we'll try again tomorrow, try it again, same statement, try again the next day, same thing. She's like, no medication. And because of the way the law works and the healthcare act works, you can't just give somebody medication without somebody's consent. So, and that psychiatrist was not even Muslim, but she gave that, she's like, okay. She called the local mosque, she said, hey, yeah, this is having a man that does ruqya. And they were like, yeah, who is this? And she told me, okay, just pull up to Candidate, you have a patient here, they're saying this is what they need. So they brought him out to Candidate, they did the ruqya, and afterwards the brother was like, okay, I guess I'll try my patients. So at that point, I'm not better. But it made me, astutely aware of the importance of having a religious understanding, especially when there's a situation where there's a huge overlap. Right? Like obviously OCD is through philosophy, having OCD specifically about I need to keep doing 30 times, 40 times. That is an even more apparent situation where having self-knowledge is important. But across the spectrum of all mental disorders, because of this lack of spiritual health, this lack of understanding of the world in the Western paradigm, you bringing up these things is important. And I want to make it clear that you're not going, if you have clinical depression, yes, reliance on Allah is important, yes, believing God is important, yes, the Quran and these things are important. But we can't cut off the line there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created antidepressants are a tool, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed on the earth for treatment. And seeking professional mental health care as well as spiritual care are both very important.
Right, so the clinical side and the research side of things. To my colleagues here, I would like to expose you to a different side of myself, inshallah. So the question was about how do our people, like Islam, work on through our career. So now, it's a very good question. Japan, starting from that. Japan being a very, very modernized country. Very, very modernized country. Alright, so everyone has a very similar mindset. So if you stand down, they will have you down. Right? And it's very difficult to advocate for your religious rights, for example. You want to pray, you fight. On my point of mine, there's a truck driver
we asked both and we required. So that's kind of where we grew up. And even for Muslims in general, like living in Japan is very, very difficult. You could speak Japanese, you could know all the culture. Japanese are generally will never kill much. As after 40 years, it was 40 out of the 40. So in that very extreme environment, you when you grow up, you just feel good to adhere to what you are. Right? And that's our upbringing. And my mother was a convert, was a little bit, she asked me, oh, just as much as everyone here is coming on. So, I never had a problem with like process or all that, because it was like instilling all that. So, as I grew up, the only question I had was, okay, all these things are great. We agree to also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should do with the disposal we have, the emotions that we have. Every single tool, every single existence, our hands, our hearts, the words that we speak, the ideas that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And each of them are designed in a specific way and patterns that you can get like possible. So you actually qualify your word worship. So I was thinking about it. Now, one thing research, I like studying. Just your students, you ask me about saying law. What's your saying? Right? So actually, using knowledge is a weapon for all these things. If you use knowledge to benefit people, you're a government. That's a view of the most beneficial to other people. So the need and property, relational, all sorts of lessons. But that's the view the one who is the most beneficial to the others. Yeah, I mean, there's so much knowledge in your people. In the work that I'm doing, I just recommend all the time that my MSc Candidate Research. This kind of opportunity where I'm going to see my life, where you can actually deal with patients. And all patients, at the same time, you can work on that. You do your own research on your own, on your subculture, on your own something, and you can calculate that with patients optimizing in a very short amount of time. These kind of issues can save you know about collaboration, but in under that we have the BNB, we want to be positive to do that, and that will be our patients. Yeah, like I said, last time I followed I said to us, okay, how do you solution problem? If the patient become wanted, okay, let's do it. And if it's beneficial, we can actually have a conversation of marketing, push this forward. Now you can say, now look at I'm pursuing knowledge. I'm benefiting people. So I'm actually self-aware and done. Right? And moreover, in the particular field that I'm in the field of Islamic Symposiums, the presence of Muslims is so cool. I'll even myself, and I'm going to go with Brother Farhan, mashallah, Professor Barakatuhu, his PhD. That's the only thing we have. And why this is important is when we have a laboratory, we're making narratives, when we write papers, the ideas that we have, how should we make this narrative in a way that people can, the layman can understand it? Because if they understand that they will have a very good pops house, or creation perspective, or atheist perspective, right? From this discussion, we can actually control the narrative. And this narrative the result we put forward is as it can be, but underlying narrative is subjective, and it subscribes to the possible. Now, why I'm saying this is we need more Muslim presence and Muslim laboratories in this particular field, right? So that we can actually move forward in our creations perspective. Which is being done by all of our approaches ourselves in the States, right? So that's the evidence we should go to this session. So I this, I want to encourage look into what you want. If you like research, go for it. And you want to talk to them for sure.
For our next question, how can you guys, like, there was one advice that you guys were giving to yourself to go back to the path. One mistake that you can get away from the path that you should have differently. Maybe one advice to us, young Muslims who are in academia, training, university, or in the workforce. What's one thing you would give us advice what you would change about, a mistake that you made that you wouldn't have done that way? And sorry, Shan Sohail.
If you start playing it again, it's going to be the same. This is going to be the same. Because all the time we're already. And I'm kind of so also like what's the that do, of course, do the diligence as much as you can. Exhaust every single avenue that you can. Close up, fulfill responsibility. And first of all, don't get interest. But don't get interest hard. It's a problem. It's a problem. It relies to your spiritual, like when you're anxious, your spiritual level, because you're constantly thinking, right? And that's nothing of what you're doing right now. You're anxious. You can't represent your money somewhere else. You can't afford it. Right? You do your due diligence. If you look forward, there's nothing to be anxious about. You're trusting in the whole design of the last. So that's the intro advice I would like to myself if I was one.
Yeah, I think in terms of advice to myself, I would try to be more aware of my community's needs earlier on. So I guess that probably falls back to more general advice for myself and first and foremost with everybody here is to always be hyper aware of your intention. What is your need and what you're doing, right? And I think sometimes, you might identify your intention as, well, I want to help this community. Even that is not fully developed intention. What does that mean? Why do you want to help this community? There are, layers of intentions beyond that, and you should be hyper aware of that. Specifically when because I did medical school and I'm in residency, I get a lot of people who are asking, how do I get into medical school? What do I need to do? How do I choose? How do I optimize my application? All of those questions, right? All very important questions. We absolutely need more Muslims in medicine. But I find that very rarely people actually sit down and think about why do they want to go to medicine. And of course, having a stable career, having income, all of that is excellent, right? All those are important. But beyond that, once you're medicine, you have to make a choice for what specialty you're doing. I never really thought that far. And certainly, that's exactly what happened to me. I hadn't really thought that far. What is your intention? And that's when the point of what does your community need is going to come in, right? What is my community? Where are the gaps and how can you fill them? Don't do any heroics, right? Like, if you really don't like mental health care, you don't see yourself as a psychiatrist, then don't pursue that. But if you're good with your hands, you think you could be a surgeon, okay, how can you use that to benefit the Ummah? Of course, your local community also don't know what we're talking about. So these are very important questions that I think it took me a while to develop this awareness that, and of course, when I say to renew your intention, I never really fully understood that. Okay, well, my intention is this, and that's why I'm doing it. But, as time passes, the more I'm hyper aware of why it's called renewing your intention. That's because your intention sways very, very rapidly, right? yes, I want to go out to school because I want to help the community. It could be just, a couple of days later that you're hyper-focused on the salary that you're making, you're hyper-focused on, potentially meeting somebody, like, oh, I want the status, these are the reasons why I'm pursuing medicine. But ultimately, whoever performed Israel, the Prophet ﷺ, for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his was that. And if you did Hijrah because you wanted to, people say that this is so and so, or people would, or they would meet somebody for marriage or whatnot, but that was why you did Hijrah. And you're not going to be Hijrah of that if your intention was not in the place. So my overall advice is really to consistently renew your intention and just always ask yourself, why am I doing this? And after you get an answer, ask yourself again, why am I doing this? Because sometimes that initial, superficial level of intention is not really developed, and there's other stuff underlying it. And of course, look around you, ask around, what does my community need, and try to put those things.
There's a lot of problems out in the world, and even there's these problems that specifically Muslims take charge of fixing them because there's gaps in communities, there's barriers to different things, and so I'd like to give you the analogy of building a building. It takes a lot of people to build a building. Not everyone is doing the same job. Some people are putting in a window, some people are putting in a door, some people are laying out these different plans. Figure out what your skill set is and how that contributes towards building the big building, right? Figure that out, really dive into it, and be the best person that you can and excel in that field. So how do you do this? Right? Well, a big part of that is also considering who you keep around, right? So maybe someone does have a paraphrasing, which is that you're one with your friends. It's very important to look at the people that you're not these literal things, but your friends and friend groups. Are they motivating you to go to these places? They don't necessarily have to be in the same field as you, but they do have to, there should be people who are motivating you to be the best version of yourself, and that they're calling you up if you're not motivating yourself up to the standard that you set for yourself. And if you are doing that same thing, it's very accountable, and you're holding them accountable. It's very important to surround yourself with the right people. I think that would be the number one tip that I would give anybody who's going to university, is to surround yourself with the best people.
I think the advice that I would give myself in the past, and you guys who are going through this right now, in terms of your career, very similar to what Biomedical said. There's two parts to it. One is avoid distractions. It's easier said than done, especially now. You have your phones, constantly scrolling. You don't realize how much time you waste on things that don't benefit us at all. So if you can do that early on, I can say with a lot of certainty that you will be guaranteed success in your career and in your life in general. The ability to tune out things that you consider are not beneficial. And how do you know it's not beneficial? Look at the Quran. Look at guidance, the Hadith, the Prophet's teaching. Take that and use it as a criteria to kind of categorize what you should do, what's beneficial and what's not. That's one. The other thing that relates more to me in terms of what I would have said to myself had I met myself now in the past is to be grateful in the downs as well as the ups. So what I used to do was, okay, I have an exam, I'm going to pray, Ya Allah, bless me with the ability to pass this exam tomorrow. When I pass the exam, I'm like, yes. And then the next week would come. Ya Allah, bless me with the means to do this. Bless me with this. That's what I was used to. But now, I would be grateful even if I didn't get all those things that I asked for. But I would be even more grateful when I got them. our supplications were actually focused on just thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever we raise our hands, it's usually a need, it's a transaction. So I will tell you guys that put more emphasis on being thankful, because I think Dr. Ibrahim would attest to this, that when you're thankful, it has a real positive impact on mental health, because it prepares you for whatever that may come that could destroy your life. So those are two big things are essential.
Thanks to all of you guys there. Like the Shan Sohail mentioned, also says that the best of you are the ones who are beneficial to people. Alhamdulillah, you guys are really beneficial to all of us here today. It's in your gathering to the Muslim community and to students that's here, inshallah. We hope and pray that, inshallah, one day we can be here, please, advising our young ones and giving them good advice for their future to come, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك والحمد لله رب العالمين.
You guys killed it. MashaAllah. We'll see it as this. You guys can sit on your seats. I'm sorry.
I think I flipped the first one.
You got heavy to lose here.
Yeah?
You got heavy to lose here.
Okay, Assalamu Alaikum. First of all, I just want to give a huge shout out to Sam and Sohail, as well as all the panelists. Thank you so much. I feel like I know so much that I'm like mentally trying to take notes, so I'm working it off. So just like all there. We're going to get into our next panel. We will be briefing for Asr. After Asr, we'll be followed by lunch and a session of networking. So this is the perfect opportunity to get in order. If there's someone that you weren't able to speak to before, get to know them, get to know a little bit about their story. You've got to hear a little bit about the stories of those who just spoke. So, use this time to get to know them a little bit more. We also have a fun little surprise where, inshallah, we also going to have a segment for you guys during lunch and networking to get your professional headshots done. So if you guys are trying to update your LinkedIn headshots, now's the perfect time to do so. So inshallah, we're going to have like a little bit of the corner set up. So if you aren't just going to get some headshots done, we have a photographer here to do so. So yeah, I think Brother Mohammed is going to come up, inshallah, make that then for Asr, and then we'll take a break for Asr, followed by networking and some food. So yeah, so fun.
So for those that aren't aware, maybe came afterwards, Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullahu Khairan Katheera, as the beginning and has come to this very moment in time. Brothers and sisters, for those that want to know how you can make a road, inshallah, you can make your way to either exit, and to your left, for brothers on this side would be the male washroom, to the right would be the female washroom. Outside that way, with accessible washrooms that are available on this floor, but also upstairs. So you can use the elevator or walk upstairs, and inshallah ta'ala you find washrooms available to use and make control. Barakallahu after the adhan, inshallah ta'ala, there will be a few minutes before we start Salatul Asr. Barakallahu everyone. الله أكبر الله Allah